Hello. Today's story takes place in South Africa. This country is located at the southern tip of Africa and is the second largest economy on the continent, with four main economic pillars: mining, manufacturing, agriculture, and services. The country has a population of around 60 million people, and its racial relations are quite complex. The percentage of white people is gradually decreasing each year, now making up only 7.8% of the total population. South Africa has three capitals. Pretoria is the administrative capital, Cape Town is the legislative capital, and Bloemfontein is the judicial capital. South Africa is a beautiful country with vast grasslands, alluring beaches, majestic mountains, and bustling cities. However, beneath this vibrant exterior lies a multitude of social issues. About 40 kilometers to the east lies the city of Stellenbosch, located at the foot of the Stellenbosch mountain. It is one of the oldest towns in South Africa, known for its long summers and large temperature differences between day and night. This unique climate has made Stellenbosch a famous wine-growing region in South Africa, producing excellent wines. The story today takes place here. The person in the photo is Hana. She was born in Cape Town, a coastal city in the southwest of South Africa, into an upper-class family. Her father, William, was a local judge, and her mother, Hana, was a lawyer who ran her own law firm. Hana also had a younger brother, 3 years younger than Hana, who was autistic and required special care from the family. Since she was a child, Hana was intelligent, quick-witted, and an outstanding student. She had a wide range of hobbies, was skilled at playing the piano, and loved acting. Hana was a beautiful and talented girl. If I had to say what her greatest strength was, it would be her kind heart. Before her 16th birthday, her parents planned to throw a grand birthday party for her. However, after giving it some thought, Hana declined her parents' kind offer. The reason was that she wanted to use the money from the birthday party to help poor children who were still struggling for their next meal. With her parents' support, Hana bought food and essential items to donate to poor children in the local community. From that moment on, every birthday, Hana saved her pocket money to help those in need. In 2015, Hana was accepted into Stanford University with excellent academic results, majoring in social sciences and humanities. The university is located 40 kilometers north of her hometown, Cape Town, and is a leading public research university, as well as one of the oldest universities in South Africa. Hana rented a dormitory room at a women's dormitory called Iran, not far from the university. Her parents wanted her to have a convenient commute, so they offered to buy her a car. But Hana felt that the money should be used for something more meaningful, so she politely declined. Later, Hana's 90-year-old grandmother gave her a used Volkswagen Golf 1984, a car she had owned for over 35 years. This time, Hana accepted the gift. Besides her studies, Hana actively participated in animal protection activities. Her kind and open personality helped her make many friends at school. At a party, Hana met Charlie, a 22-year-old Stanford student majoring in theology. Charlie was an energetic guy who loved sports, especially skateboarding. Every time he went out, he would use his favorite skateboard. Although they were in different fields of study, Hana and Charlie got along very well, always having something to talk about, and quickly became close friends. However, on a night in May 2017, the two young friends faced a cruel test of fate. On May 26, 2017, which was a Friday evening, students at Stanford University were wrapping up a week of classes. Hana, who was 21 years old and had been at the university for nearly 2 years, decided to go to a bar near the campus with a group of friends to relax. The nightlife in Stellenbosch was very lively, especially on weekends when the bars were crowded with people. That night, Hana and her group of friends went to the bar together, drinking, chatting, and enjoying a rare moment of fun. During that time, Hana spotted Jenny from another group of friends. Since they knew each other, they naturally sat down to talk. Their friends also quickly got to know each other, and the group played a popular game called dominoes. Time flew by quickly, and before they knew it, it was 3 a.m. Feeling it was getting late, Hana said goodbye to her friends, telling them she would go back to the dorm and meet them another time. Just then, Charlie also mentioned he was ready to leave. Originally, Charlie planned to skateboard home, but considering it was late and Hana being a girl was going alone, it wasn't safe. so he offered to give her a ride home. Hana gladly agreed. Although they weren't romantically involved, there was likely some mutual affection between them. On the quiet road in the early hours of the morning, besides Hana and Charlie, only a few other young people were around. The dormitory where Hana stayed was only 1.3 kilometers from the bar. The two chatted happily as they walked and quickly arrived at the dorm. When Charlie was about to leave, Hana, being kind, suddenly worried about his safety. The local security situation wasn't very good, with robberies happening frequently. By chance, Hana had a car, so she offered to drive Charlie home. Charlie lived 2.2 kilometers away in the Lavenda apartment complex. Initially, Charlie refused, but he couldn't resist Hana's persistence and eventually agreed. He placed his skateboard in the back seat and sat in the front seat. At 3:23 a.m., their car arrived at the Lavenda apartment complex. Surveillance cameras recorded footage of the car slowly pulling into a parking lot in front of the complex, stopping next to a white car, which was somewhat out of view. After stopping, they didn't rush to get out but continued chatting happily. 6 minutes later, at 3:29 a.m., the surveillance cameras recorded 4 men walking past Hana's car. They looked suspicious as they walked and kept glancing back. Then they disappeared from the camera's view. The 4 men were Ebenezer Goodboy, 32, Ronaldo Passon, 26, Ebenezer Van Nicker, 27, and Latviu Julius, 28. They were all criminals involved in robbery, theft, and many other crimes. Their presence at this late hour suggested they were looking for their next target. At 3:32 a.m., 2 of the 3 criminals reappeared on the surveillance camera. This time, they walked directly towards Hana's green Volvo Jengo. Inside the car, the 2 victims were completely unaware of the danger approaching. The car doors were unlocked, and the windows were still open. As Chelsea was about to get out of the car, one of the criminals suddenly appeared outside the window, pointing a gun at Hana and Trang. They then began searching the victims' phones and wallets. Hana, terrified, begged them to take what they wanted and leave. One of the robbers, named Julius, opened Chelsea's wallet, found only 40 South African rand, and was about to leave. But seeing that his accomplices showed no signs of stopping, he decided to stay. Julius grabbed a bag, got out of the car, and ran away. At 3:35 a.m., Goodboy, sitting in the driver's seat, quickly found the car keys and started the engine. By 3:39, the car slowly left the apartment parking lot. After driving for a while, the 3 robbers pulled Chelsea out of the car and stuffed her into the trunk. Hana, trembling with fear, asked where they were taking her. The robbers said they just wanted to go home and would return the car afterward. Hana naively believed they would keep their promise, but this was only the beginning of her nightmare. The car drove for about 10 kilometers before stopping in a secluded alley. 2 robbers got out, bought illegal drugs from a shady group, and then drove off again. After traveling another stretch, they pulled over, got out of the car, and opened the trunk to demand Chelsea's bank card PIN. Chelsea reluctantly gave them a number. The robbers drove another 10 kilometers to a gas station outside of town. The surveillance camera at Stellenbosch showed the green Volkswagen stopping in front of a convenience store at the gas station. Goodboy then entered the store, wearing a puffy jacket and black pants, and holding Chelsea's bank card. He stood in front of the ATM for a long time, repeatedly trying to withdraw money but failed because Chelsea had given him a fake PIN. After leaving the convenience store, Goodboy returned to the car, and they drove off. Through surveillance cameras, it was clear that Hana was sitting in the passenger seat. The car then drove about 15 kilometers to Kraaifontein, where Goodboy and his accomplices bought and used drugs while also making some shady deals. Meanwhile, Chelsea, locked in the trunk, was in sheer panic, kicking at the trunk in a desperate attempt to escape. Hana seemed calmer, not screaming, but the sounds from the trunk quickly made the criminals angry. At 5:30 a.m., the car stopped at a deserted field. Hana, terrified, asked the robbers why they had stopped here. They replied that they just needed to stop and smoke. Goodboy and passenger got out, dragged Chelsea from the trunk to a remote place, and shoved her to the ground. Chelsea was shaking uncontrollably, not knowing what was about to happen. The robbers, furious, scolded Chelsea for giving them the fake PIN, mocking her for joking with them, and said she had to pay the price. Goodboy and Mason picked up a large stone and smashed it into Chelsea's head. At 10 a.m. that day, in Craigslist, a couple was watching TV in the living room when they heard a scream from outside. They opened the living room window in surprise and saw a young man, covered in blood, standing in front of them. The couple was frightened, thinking he might be a gang member who had just gotten into a fight. They told him to leave quickly. The young man was none other than Charlie, badly injured in the head. Miraculously, he was still alive and conscious. Charlie staggered and asked the couple for help. They immediately called the police after realizing the severity of the situation. Upon arriving at the scene, the police took Chelsea to the hospital. After examination, it was found that Chelsea had a broken arm, severe head trauma, and permanent hearing loss in her left ear. She recounted everything to the police and begged them to save Hana. In fact, more than an hour before that, in a vineyard at Stellenbosch, the body of a young woman was discovered. The police quickly arrived and found the victim so disfigured that she was unrecognizable. Her arms and legs were bruised and her head was severely injured. There were 2 stab wounds on her neck showing signs of assault. Based on Charlie's statement, the police conducted a DNA test and confirmed that the victim was Hana, 21 years old. Clearly, another serious criminal case had occurred. Meanwhile, after murdering Hana, the robbers didn't stop. At 8:30 a.m., they drove Hana's car from Stellenbosch to Craigfontein and targeted a 32-year-old female worker on her way to work. The car blocked her path. Good Boy and Eben got out, pushed the woman to the ground, stole her phone, wallet, and bank card, and ran off. A few hours later, they arrived in the town of Cudaver, 9 kilometers south of Griffin. There, they robbed another woman, forced her into the car, and continued their crime spree. At 1:12 p.m., surveillance cameras at a gas station in Germany captured the green Volvo again, with the kidnapped woman sitting in the back seat. Good Boy, the mastermind, got out of the car, changed clothes, and wore beige pants instead of black. He entered the convenience store, just like before, and used the stolen bank card to withdraw money from the ATM. This time, the PIN was correct, and he withdrew 3,000 rand. With the money in hand, the robbers casually walked out of the store and drove off. The woman was lucky to survive because she had given the correct PIN. They released her on a remote country road before returning to steal the boat, where they split the 3,000 rand. Eben took 1,000 rand and dropped it from the car. The other 2 continued driving around, planning to sell the Volvo. However, the car's license plate was now on the police watch list. At 1:30 p.m., an undercover officer on patrol near the vineyard at State of the Boat spotted Hana's car with 2 people inside. To avoid alarming the criminals, the officer discreetly contacted headquarters for backup and then followed the car alone. Shortly after, another police vehicle arrived to assist. Realizing they were being followed, the criminals sped up and a chase ensued, lasting for about 30 minutes. The Volkswagen was finally stopped near the entrance of a farm, and the robbers tried to escape, one even jumping into the river. But all their efforts were in vain, and the police eventually captured them. After their arrest, Good Boy and passenger confessed to the crimes, revealing the names of their remaining accomplices. Later that night, Eben and Julius were also caught by the police. From the moment Hana and Chelsea were kidnapped at the apartment complex until the 4 criminals were behind bars, justice had been served. Just over 10 hours, but in that short amount of time, they caused 4 robberies, 1 murder, and almost killed Charlene. Facing police interrogation, they admitted to carjacking and kidnapping, but denied murder and assault. Unknowingly, they all placed the blame on the 3 other individuals. According to Good Boy's confession, that night he was filled with desire but didn't have money, so he invited Jay Batson and Aben. After discussing, the 3 decided to hit the streets to find money. They started wandering the streets, and on the way they met Julius, Good Boy's friend, who joined them. When they reached the Lavender apartment complex, the 4 saw a green Volkswagen with the lights still on inside. They deliberately slowed down to observe it. After confirming there was 1 man and 1 woman inside, they decided to act. At 5:30 a.m., after attacking Chelsea, the 3 turned to attack Hana. To save her life, Hana tried to negotiate, saying she would do anything if they spared her. Hana, being innocent, overestimated their kindness. They kept driving. At 6:10 a.m., the morning light started to appear, but Hana's fear still hadn't subsided. She tried asking about Charlene's condition, and they told her they had knocked him out and tied him to a tree. They assured her that when he woke up, he would be fine. They then stopped at a printing workshop near an abandoned resurrection image. There, the three took turns assaulting Hana before stuffing her into the trunk. They still weren't ready to let her go, so they drove to a vineyard in Stellenbosch, 19 kilometers away from the printing shop. Once again, they opened the trunk. Hana was terrified. To protect herself, she didn't resist much. Just when Hana thought she would be released, one of them pulled out a sharp screwdriver and stabbed her in the neck. Then they found a 38-kilogram rock and used it to smash Hana's head. During the investigation, police discovered a fifth suspect, referred to as Kafuchia, possibly a nickname or fake name. This person was believed to have been involved in the crime at some point. During the interrogation, the four criminals mentioned Kafuchia, but their testimonies about the level of involvement and role of this person were inconsistent. It seemed they either couldn't or didn't want to reveal his true identity. In the end, the police couldn't find Kafuchia, and it was possible this fifth suspect was a decoy to mislead the investigation and cover up their crimes. A year later, the case went to trial in the South African High Court in the Western Cape area. The four defendants were charged with murder and other crimes. The case shocked the public and sparked outrage. Many people followed the trial closely. In court, the prosecution presented crucial evidence, including surveillance cameras at the parking lot, convenience stores, and the 38-kilogram rock used in the crime. Throughout the trial, the four defendants showed no remorse. They not only smiled and joked, but also openly displayed affection for their girlfriends sitting in the audience, showing blatant disrespect for the law. However, one of the criminals secretly wrote a letter to Hana's parents asking for forgiveness. Yet it seemed like he didn't feel any real remorse. After some time, Judge Samina Enovu concluded that all four defendants truly showed no regret for their crimes. The outrage among the people reached its peak. After a break, the South African Supreme Court in the Western Cape delivered the final verdict. Julius was found guilty of robbery and kidnapping, receiving a 22-year prison sentence. The other three defendants, Good Boy, Passon, and EBN, were found guilty of murder and other crimes, receiving life sentences. This was the highest sentence in South Africa. When the judge read the verdict, the people in the courtroom couldn't contain their emotions. They clapped and cheered. However, as if expecting the result, the criminals remained indifferent, showing no fear before the cameras. They even smiled and gave a thumbs up to the sky. Patterson even turned to the audience and made a clownish face. Their actions were a blatant disregard for the law. The reason they dared to do this was that they knew South Africa does not apply the death penalty. After the crime, Hana's parents established a charity in her name. All the donations would go to help local children go to school and escape poverty and violence. Hana's death was a devastating blow to her family. Her mother closed the law firm she had built over the years to dedicate herself to the charity in her daughter's name. But sadly, less than a year after Hana's death, her mother went swimming in the early morning and never returned. Her body was found in the sea that afternoon, with the cause of death determined to be drowning. She was 56 years old. Unfortunately, she didn't live long enough to see those who killed her daughter face justice. In 2022, Hana's father passed away from cancer. Hana's younger brother, who has autism, was placed in a healthcare facility where he could receive comprehensive care. Charlene was fortunate to survive the incident, but he lost hearing in his left hand and suffered severe psychological trauma. For a long time after, he couldn't escape the terrifying memories and had to pause his studies for treatment. The consolation is that with the support and encouragement of those around him, Charlene gradually overcame the pain, returned to school, pursued a career in law, and actively helped those in similar situations. Now he is a husband, a father, and lives a positive and optimistic life. The Hana case has closed, but the pain and anger it left in the hearts of South Africans still smolder. The case sounded an alarm about the crime and violence rampant in the country. The story of Hana, her goodness trampled on, and the pain of her family has become a driving force pushing the South African government and people to fight for a safer, fairer, and more humane society. Although Hana is no longer here, her spirit lives on through the charity in her name, and the pursuit of justice by John continues to spread, warming hearts and lighting the hope for a brighter future for South Africa. Today's video ends here. See you in the next videos. Goodbye.